Hawaii volcanic eruption intentionally triggered to generate massive tsunami? An increasing number of earthquakes under Hawaii's Kilauea volcano preceded the appearance of fissures spewing molten lava in the lower Puna region of the Big Island on May 3. The newly active fissures have led to the destruction of homes, evacuation of residents, closure of roads, and emissions of poisonous sulfuric gases that will impact the region for months, if not years to come. While most assume that the earthquakes and Kilauea's eruption are due to natural geological processes stemming from a hotspot deep under the Big Island of Hawaii, there is startling evidence linking human intervention to this recent wave of volatile activity. Examination of the fracking practices at Puna Geothermal Power Station, located in the same Puna region affected by earthquakes and volcanic activity, directly raises the strong possibility that the fracking was a direct factor in unleashing what is currently occurring. What makes such a possibility even more disturbing is the background of the company that owns the power station, which is officially called the Puna Geothermal Venture. The company is financially connected to the Rothschild family, which according to the military intelligence group QAnon, forms the leadership of a worldwide satanic cult, covertly fomenting planet-wide catastrophes and wars to maintain global power. A partial collapse of Kilauea volcano could trigger a massive tsunami that would not only engulf the Hawaiian Islands but also devastate the US Pacific coast as well as the coastal regions of other Pacific Rim nations. The possibility that the Puna Geothermal Venture conducted fracking in a deliberate effort to secretly promote earthquakes to trigger such a collapse and thereby generate massive tsunamis deserves a critical investigation. I begin my research with some history of the Puna Geothermal Venture, which began operations in the Big Island in 1993. It's worth noting that the Kilauea volcano has been in a constant state of eruption since 1983 and that its East Rift Zone has been a prominent part of the lava flows that have destroyed local communities. From its inception, there has been controversy over the wisdom of the Puna Geothermal Venture being built within an active volcanic region with regularly occurring lava flows. However, what most aroused local opposition is direct scientific evidence that the power plant has been using fracking techniques as a means of generating heat for power generation. Scientists have established a clear linkage between fracking and earthquake activity in multiple studies. Quote, a July 12, 2013 US Geological Survey study has confirmed forcing high-pressure water into the earth via fracking can increase the number of induced earthquakes. A July 27, 2013 study by the University of California, Santa Cruz confirmed the correlation between geothermal fracking and earthquakes. A 2013 study by the Committee on Induced Seismicity Potential in Energy Technologies, the Committee on Earth Resources, Committee on Geological and Geotechnical Engineering, Committee on Seismology and Geodynamics, Board on Earth and Sciences and Resources, Division on Earth and Life Studies, and National Research Council concludes geothermal drilling causes earthquakes. End quote. While the owners of the Puna Geothermal Venture insist that fracking has not been used, independent studies confirm otherwise. A Duke University study of the 8 wells used by the Puna Geothermal Venture, or PGV, concluded, quote, the region of high fracture density is also consistent with the areas of the highest fluid production at PGV. The production records are proprietary to the PGV parent company, Ormat, so tables and diagrams are not included in the dissertation. However, it is indicated that wells that penetrate the area where we calculate the greatest fracture density have higher fluid flow than elsewhere in the PGV lease, pages 55-56, end quote. Essentially, the Duke University study suggested that fracking was occurring at the Puna geothermal venture via the injection of pressurized fluids into the wells and surrounding rocks. Even more alarming is that a study of earthquake activity in the vicinity of Kilauea shows a direct correlation to the fluid injection, fracking, at the geothermal plant, as clearly illustrated by the following graph using scientific data. Source of the earthquake data is the Advanced National Seismic System, or the ANSS, and the source of the injection data is the Environmental Protection Agency. The clear conclusion that emerges is that the liquid injection or fracking practices at Puna Geothermal Venture has been inducing earthquakes in Kilauea's East Rift Zone for years. This is where people will demand an answer to the question of whether this induced earthquake activity was merely accidental or deliberately contrived. The Puna Geothermal Venture is owned by Ormat Industries, which is an Israeli-based company that was founded by Lucian Yehuda Bronicki. A biography of Bronicki states, quote, Mr. Lucian Yehuda Bronicki, PhD, served as the Chief Technology Officer of Ormat Industries Limited since July 1, 2004. He served as Chief Technology Officer of Ormat Technologies, Inc. Mr. Bronicki co-founded Ormat Turbines Limited in 1965. He served as President and Technical Director of Ormat Turbines Limited from 1965 to 1991. Mr. Bronicki has received numerous awards, including the Rothschild Prize for Innovation Export in 1977. End quote. The award of the Rothschild Prize for Innovation Export established a clear link between Bronicki's Ormat Industries turbines and the Rothschild family. What sets the Rothschild family apart from other philanthropic organizations is the role it plays in using its funding to manipulate individuals, organizations, and nations to do their bidding, according to a December 7, 2017 post by QAnon, which states, Rothschilds, brackets, cult leaders, brackets, church, brackets, P, banks, / financial institutions, WW government control, that's worldwide government control. Government controls people. It is quite plausible that the Rothschilds' 1977 support and financial backing made Bronicki and Ormat Industries obligated to do the Rothschilds' bidding in some way. This makes it possible that Bronicki was instructed by the Rothschilds to build the geothermal facility in a dangerous volcanic region for a hidden purpose, despite the inherent risk in building a facility in such a dangerous area. This is borne out by the Puna geothermal venture being evacuated as a new fissure has opened only a few hundred meters away from it, thereby threatening to destroy the facility, as reported by the Washington Post on May 12. And the photo shows the Puna geothermal facility with nearby volcanic fissure in the Washington Post story. So what could be the hidden purpose behind building the geothermal plant in an active volcanic region, when it was known that induced earthquakes could trigger seismic activity which would threaten anything that was built there, thereby incurring significant financial loss for Bronicki, Ormat, and/or the Rothschilds? This is where we need to consider Kilauea's Helena slump, which is summarized in the following Wikipedia article. Quote, the Helena slump is a 5,000 cubic mile or 20,000 cubic kilometer section of the Big Island of Hawaii on the south flank of the Kilauea volcano. Between 1990 and 1993, Global Positioning System measurements showed a southward displacement of the south flank of Kilauea up to approximately 10 centimeters per year. The slump has the potential of breaking away at a faster pace in the form of an underwater landslide. In Hawaii, landslides of this nature are called debris avalanches. If the entire Helena slump were to slide into the ocean at once, it could cause an earthquake in excess of a 9 in magnitude and a mega tsunami. Previous mega tsunamis in Hawaii 110,000 years ago, caused by similar geological events, may have created waves of 1,600 feet or 500 meters tall. According to veteran investigative journalist Hal Turner, he's received information that there is a news blackout on the Helena slump due to scientific concerns over its impending collapse and generation of giant tsunamis. Quote, "Scientists from the United States Geological Survey have contacted me regarding a staggering development taking place right now during the eruption of the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii. An area of land on the south flank of the volcano known as the Helena slump, about the size of Manhattan, is moving and could break off into the ocean, sending a tsunami toward the west coast with 100-plus foot waves moving at 500 miles per hour. Cities like San Diego, Los Angeles, and others could be wiped off the face of the earth." End quote. The video linked below in the description shows the devastating tsunamis that could be caused by a partial or full collapse of the Helena slump. So now I come back to the question of what was the hidden purpose behind the Rothschilds-backed geothermal venture in Puna. As suggested in QAnon's December 7, 2017 post, the Rothschild family leads a global cult that has been at the forefront of controlling the planet for nearly 2 centuries. In an earlier November 17, 2017 post, QAnon revealed the connection between Satanism and the Rothschilds. QAnon wrote, "Who are the puppet masters? House of Sword, 4 trillion. Rothschild, 2 trillion. Focus on above 3. Public wealth disclosures, false. Many governments of the world feed the eye. Think slush funds. Think war. Think environmental pacts. Triangle has 3 sides. Eye of Providence. Follow the bloodlines. What is the keystone? Does Satan exist? Does the thought of Satan exist? Who worships Satan?" And then he goes on and finishes with a quote by Vladimir Putin, "The New World Order worships Satan." End quote. Support for QAnon's extraordinary claim comes from the whistleblower testimony of Dr. Bill Deagle, a former US Air Force physician. He said that in 1992, the head of the Rothschild family, Guy the Rothschild, physically appeared before him late at night in his room. In a Project Camelot interview, Deagle explained how the Rothschild displayed a range of impressive occult abilities, confirming that he was talking with a highly evolved satanic cult leader who believed himself to be the occult ruler of Earth. Quote, "I woke up in the middle of the night, bolt upright, and I sat up. And I had all the lights on because I'd have to periodically go to the restroom or whatever. I had all the lights on. And this guy was standing in front of me with what I call a $5,000 tuxedo, not a grey hair in his head, mid-50s, slim and trim. I said, 'How did you get in here?' And he says, 'It's wonderful to see you, my son.' I said, 'You're not my father.' And I looked at this guy and he looked like French nobility, right? And I said, 'Who are you?' He says, 'I am the Baron Guy de Rothschild, the Pindar.' And I had this really kind of what I call a check or a kind of cringe in my spirit. And I knew right away, because I have this gift, right? Without getting into a big, long discussion, I knew right away. I said, 'I know who you are. You're the representative of the Luciferic power that controls Earth.' He says, 'Yes, I am the CEO of Earth, Inc.' and I am the man that sits in the 13th chair of the Druidic Council. I want you to be my understudy, and when I transcend, I want you to take over my job. And I said, no, I'm not going to. End quote. If we accept what QAnon and Deagle have revealed about the Rothschilds, and what we know about the link between the owner of the Puna geothermal venture and the Rothschild family, then this leads to a disturbing scenario. The decision to build the Puna geothermal venture in 1993 was ordered by Guy the Rothschild after he and or other Rothschild family members had called in a favour owed by Bronicky and Ormont after he was awarded the Rothschild Prize in 1977. Consequently, the hidden purpose of the Puna geothermal plant was to trigger earthquakes and seismic activity around Kilauea volcano that would lead to a collapse of the Helena slump. This would create a Pacific-wide disaster that would cripple the US economically and militarily for years to come, thereby helping the Rothschild family maintain its shadowy global control system, which plans to use China as its new base of operations. A personal note. My wife, Angelica, and I lived in the Lower Puna region from November 1st, 2013 to May 1st, 2018 in the area of Kaimu, Kalapana. The day of our move back to the Kona side of the Big Island was marked by a succession of earthquakes and was followed 2 days later by the outbreak of the lava fissures in Leilani Estates. We thank Providence for our lucky escape. We send our prayers and best wishes to our former neighbours and friends who were not so fortunate and whose lives have been severely impacted by the lava outbreaks. This has been Dr. Michael Sala with exopolitics.org. Thank you for listening.